Hey, this is Charmaine Ironside with Love Your Way Light. And I'm just checking I don't have lipstick on my teeth. So in this video, I'm so excited to share with you all about breaking through the habit of comfort eating. And so I want to explain comfort eating a little bit. I use it interchangeably with mindless eating, stress eating, comfort eating, habitual eating. Hey, Carrie. So any type of eating where you're not actually hungry and you're eating for another reason. And so for me, for so many years, I would try to lose weight. Hi, Ava. I would try to lose weight on diets, and I was even on the Canadian Olympic team, the national team, and I remember being given meal plans, being told exactly what to eat, and I always struggled with my weight. No matter how many diets I tried, I struggled. Hey, Sue. So if you relate to that, I want you to know that it might not be about what you're eating. It might not be about, how much you're eating and all that. And it might actually be more about why you're eating. Okay, so comfort eating is basically eating food when you're not in need of physical nourishment. And people do it for all kinds of reasons, which I'll share. And I want to share before I dive into some tools that will help you break the habit. If you're going like, yeah, this is me, I definitely do this, then I want to share what are the benefits of breaking through this habit. So the first benefit is weight release, and I don't call it weight loss. Once I explain to people, when you tell yourself that you're going to lose weight, what happens in your subconscious mind is your brain actually says, hey, Paulo, your brain actually says you're going to lose weight, and whatever you lose, you often find. So you start to look for the weight you lost. I know that sounds a little funny. However, it is how our brains work. Our brains are so powerful. So I encourage you, if you learn nothing else, but you'll learn lots, but the best thing I want you to take away right now is if you're on a journey to transform your body, I'm going the other way I'm 26 weeks pregnant today, so I'm not trying to release weight. However, I'm also not trying to gain a whole bunch of weight like I did in my last pregnancy, where I was 200 pounds when Kennedy was born. And so anyways, that's what I'm excited to share with you. So the first benefit of breaking through the habit of comfort eating is you'll release weight, you'll lose weight, and you'll keep it off, however you want to call it, without deprivation, without dieting, without doing some kind of quick fix, crazy regime that will often, almost as always, lead back to where you started. So if you're watching this, maybe you can relate to that whole idea of releasing weight, losing weight on a diet. Maybe you lose a ton of weight. Like I know for me, when I did my last fitness competition, actually my first fitness competition, I lost 30 pounds in 10 weeks. And it was insane. It was the craziest regime I did. And the thing about it was, as soon as I finished the fitness show, as soon as I finished the diet, I gained back not only all the weight I lost, but I gained back more. So maybe, if you've ever went on a diet and you've lost weight only to gain it back, give me a like or a love, just so I know that I'm not the only one. Because actually, I do know I'm not the only one. Interestingly and fascinatingly, the stats staggeringly tell us that 95% of people that diet will gain back the weight they lost within 1 year, unless they deal with the deeper reasons why they eat, which is what I'm so excited to share with you today. So even if you do believe that dieting, changing what you eat, deprivation, whatever it is for you, if you think that's going to work, what I'm teaching you today will couple with that and will make it even more powerful. So the first benefit of breaking through comfort eating is that you can release weight. Hi, Patrick. My husband's watching even. You can release weight sustainably and keep it off. So that's the most exciting thing. The second one is having peace and confidence around food. Wouldn't you love to be able to make food choices and you just feel totally at peace with what you're eating, and there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no self-beat up afterwards, there's no confusion? Let me know if that sounds good to you, to have peace and confidence around what you're eating. Because I remember living for years of my life with so much food drama. And, I would constantly, my husband's watching right now. I would wake up at 5 a.m. and I would already be talking about what we were going to eat for dinner. I was obsessed. I was literally obsessed with food. when I was going to eat it, what I was going to eat, how much I was going to eat, planning. I still love food. And now it's like this part of my life that's joyful instead of being an obsession. Hey, Andrea. Awesome. So that's the second benefit, having that peace around food instead of feeling like it's always this battle. If you've ever felt like your relationship with food was a battle, then this video is definitely for you. And the third benefit, one of my most favorite benefits of eating and shifting into breaking through this habits of comfort eating, is having an increased energy and zest for life. Now this one, I'm going to share a quick story, and this is game changing. Because comfort eating, for me, was my way of not dealing with my life. So when I would get home from a stressful day of work, I would eat. And I would not eat broccoli and chicken and quinoa. I would eat carbs in large amounts. And I'll share that in a few minutes, because when we are stressed and exhausted, our brains actually tell us to eat simple carbohydrates, not healthy food, junk food, because our brains are in survival mode. So anyways, I'd get home from work and I would just, binge on carbs because I was so tired and I was so stressed. That was one reason I ate. And the other big reason for me, and you might relate to this, and if not, take my word out, put yours in. Whenever I was sad, that was my emotion that really drove me to eat more than any other. Anxiety would drive me to eat, frustration would drive me to eat, lack of fulfillment would drive me to eat. Lots of things would drive me to eat when I wasn't hungry. However, sadness was my biggest trigger. And so what happened was, about 6 years ago, and some of you watching may have heard this story, my mom was dying and she had leukemia. And it was a very tragic situation. She was told it was a slow type of leukemia. She'd probably have at least 20 years to live. And, fast forward, she passed away within a year of that diagnosis. And so it was a very hard year. I was grieving, I was mad, I was frustrated, so many emotions. And what I would do is I would just eat. When I felt uncomfortable and sad, I would just eat. Because from a very young age, food was my thing. And now I can affectionately say food was my drug of choice. Because for me, it wasn't like hard drugs or whatever it is. And we all have a thing. So I want you to think about, as you're watching, what's your thing? Hey, Krista. Hey, Philip. So, when you feel really uncomfortable, you're pushed over the edge with emotions, with exhaustion, with frustration, with stress. What's your coping mechanism? If you are totally evolved and you know how to deal with it, you might have this beautiful plan. And if you're like most of us, it's either food, alcohol, drugs, shopping, Netflix, workaholism. Everybody's got a thing. So if you relate to that at all, please give me a like or a love so I know that this is resonating. So if you've ever felt uncomfortable in your body, felt an uncomfortable emotion that you didn't want to feel, and you did something to distract yourself from it. It doesn't have to be food. It could be anything. Yeah, so thank you. I'm not alone. Thanks, Lori. So we've all done it. We've all done it. And it can be anything, like I said, from shopping too much, perhaps, to eating too much, to drinking too much. There's lots of things out there. So that's the last benefit I want to share of really breaking through the habit of comfort eating, is you'll have more energy and zest for life. So what happened after my mom passed away, I was at least 30 pounds overweight, probably almost 30 pounds heavier than I am today. And I'm pregnant, 6 months pregnant today. And so what I was doing was I was pushing down literally with food. I was pushing down my emotions with food. And so I was very overweight and I was frustrated in my body. I was uncomfortable. I was even out of breath walking up the stairs. I was a fitness trainer and I was completely living out of integrity with what I believed. And so on top of being overweight, I was exhausted and I had no zest for life. I was depressed, because what happens when we push down our feelings and when we don't give ourselves what we really need, which for me may have been a cry, may have been seeing a counselor, may have been yelling in my car, may have been a lot of other things. Instead of that, I just ate. And I had lots of opportunities for support. And I said, no, I'm good. I got food. Food is my friend here. And I used foods to cope. So once I decided to deal with the grief of losing my mom, my weight came off my body. Like, it was like the weight like fell off my body because I was no longer using food to cover up my feelings. So that's a huge, huge benefit. Weight release is huge. You'll have more zest for life. You'll have more energy. And of course, like I shared a minute ago, you'll have more peace and confidence around food. So you don't feel, has anybody ever felt like out of control? Have you ever felt totally out of control when you're eating and you're just like, I'm a mad woman? That won't happen anymore once you use some of these tools that I'm going to share with you. So I want to ask you a true or false question. True or false? 80% of weight loss success is about what you put in your mouth. Just type true or false. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I'll repeat the question. 80% of weight loss success is about what you put in your mouth. Do you believe that's true or do you believe that's false? Whatever comes to mind, I just want to hear if anyone has input on that, because this is sort of the basis. Yeah. Hopefully I didn't lose you. So perfect. So Lori, true. And so in the industry, I'm in the fitness and wellness industry. And so a lot of times you'll hear that stat. 80% of weight loss success is what you put in your mouth. Now I just want to challenge that a little bit, because the next part of it is, do you believe that everything you put in your mouth is just related to diet alone? So, maybe you know what to eat, so you eat it, and like, would you say that that's true for you? Because, I do agree. If you want to lose weight, actually release weight and keep it off, you do have to look at what you're eating, okay? So you really, really have to shift how you're eating. However, what I want to share today is that there's other factors other than what you put in your mouth that are affecting what you eat. So stress affects what you put in your mouth. Exhaustion affects what you put in your mouth. Emotions affect what you put in your mouth. Huge, 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 huge. Old habits. I have clients who are like, I have to clear my plate because that's what I was taught as a kid. I can't waste food. And there's all these habits ingrained in it. So yes, we could say 80% of what you put in your mouth, 80% of weight loss success is going to come down to what you put in your mouth. It's not as much about exercise. However, what you put in your mouth comes down to more than just having a meal plan. Can we all agree on that? Because I've been given meal plans my whole life. I've done over 30 diets. I was on the Canadian national team and I was the most overweight athlete. I remember stepping on the scale in the 180s while I was at the peak of my athletic career and being given dietitian prescribed meal plans. And guess what? I could follow them for maybe a week or two. And then something sad would happen, something stressful would happen, something anxiety producing would happen. I would get exhausted and I would veer from the plan. So how many of you have ever eaten something not because of physical hunger? Let's just share that. So have you ever put something in your mouth when you weren't hungry and because of stress, exhaustion, emotions, habit? Anybody? Is it just me? So give me a like or a love if that resonates for you. And I'd also love to know, thanks Andrea, I'd also love to know how many of you feel like you generally know what healthy eating is and sometimes, or maybe often, make other choices. Anyone? So you know what general healthy eating is, and you often find yourself making other choices. So this is where, the rubber hits the road and where it's important to realize that if you've had meal plans in the past and you haven't been able to stick to them, then what I'm going to teach you now is going to be game changing for you, because it's going to allow you to actually stick to the plan quite closely and get the results you want, and even better, keep them. Because like I shared earlier, 95% of people on diets gain back the weight within 1 year. And the reason is because there's no behavior change. There's no belief change. It's just they're strictly following a plan, but they're not really shifting any of their physiology. They're not really shifting their belief systems and getting their lifestyle shifted as well. All right, so who's excited to learn my 5 steps for breaking through comfort eating? Yee, I'm excited to share them. So give me a like or a love if you're excited, and I'll start sharing what they are. So the first one is to be aware of your habits. Because if you're not aware, you can't change anything. Awareness is always the first step to any change. So being aware, which means being aware of your hunger. So, and I'm going to share all 5 steps. So this is going to be a bit of a longer training video, and if you have to jump off, I encourage you to make sure you come back and watch the rest because it's going to be amazing. So becoming aware of your hunger is step 1. Number 2 is having coping practices in the moment. So if you're at the fridge or you're at the pantry and you just want to eat something out of it because you're not feeling good and you had a hard day, I'm going to teach you some really good coping mechanisms in the moment. The third one is I'm going to teach you how to design your life for success. Specifically, if you can get your stress down slightly and if you can make your sleep a little bit higher quality, you will notice a huge shift. Your food cravings will plummet if you are relaxed more often and if you're getting better quality sleep. So designing your life to support you so that you're not just going through life helter-skelter and then trying to stick to a meal plan and wondering why it's not working, okay? The 4th step is to use some loving and peaceful eating guidelines. And I have some chocolate here. And if you want to grab something decadent, you're welcome to, because I'm going to teach you a little bit about peacefully eating and some of the benefits of actually savoring your food, getting rid of food guilt, and really just slowing down around food and how that can drastically affect your weight. Because I personally believe that how you eat your meals is almost as important, maybe even more for some people, as what you eat, okay? And I still believe in eating nourishing foods and respecting our bodies with food. However, if you're eating a hamburger from McDonald's and you're stressed and you're in traffic and you're going a mile a minute versus you eat that hamburger slowly and you savor it, your body could hold up to 3 times as much fat from that hamburger eaten under stress versus the hamburger eaten in relaxation. So that's why I say how you eat your meals is massive, and I'll share you a few tips on that. And then the last step is optimizing your mindset and getting rid of some of the old paradigms like the oh what the heck effect. You eat one donut and then you say, oh what the heck, I screwed up, I'm gonna eat the whole box. I'm gonna talk about some of those belief systems that, trust me, they are not serving you. Food guilt, Andrea mentioned food guilt. Yeah, guilt is a huge one and it's not serving you. So I'm gonna share how to break through some of those. Who's excited? Woo, woo, woo. All right. So let's go back to awareness. The first step to breaking through comfort eating is being aware of what you're doing. I want to share with you one of my favorite tools for this, and it's called I'll share that in a second actually. So first of all, I want you to think about physical hunger versus an emotional or a spiritual hunger. And so physical hunger is like literally your body needs fuel to function. So tell me in the comment section, what would be some signs that you're actually physically hungry? Anything, feel free to type. So something like your mouth might water if you're physically hungry. And these are proven things that show that you're actually in need of food. Hi, Candace. So mouth waters, if you want to share, feel free to comment anything that you find is a trigger that you really need to eat because you're physically hungry. Mouth waters, stomach rumbles, sometimes your mental clarity decreases a bit, like you're not able to work as efficiently. Some people even get a little bit shaky. I get hangry. You might have heard, yeah, thanks Lori, lightheaded, growling stomach. Yeah, I get what I call hangry, so I get a bit grouchy with my husband or whoever I'm around. If I haven't eaten in too long, I can't really be my best self because I'm just way too hungry. So that's physical hunger. And then more of a spiritual or emotional hunger is more like, I don't feel comfortable right now. I feel anxious. I feel stressed. I feel tired. I feel sad, whatever those emotions are. And so I eat. And you might be able to relate to that. This could be that. And also, it's proven that if we don't give ourselves pleasure in the day, in the form of whatever your pleasure practices are, walks in nature, meditation, savoring your meals, calling a good friend. If we don't have some type of self-care in the day, as human beings, we're actually wired to need a certain amount of pleasure. And if we don't give it to ourselves in healthful ways, in healthy ways, then our body will take it, our spirit will take it in unhealthy ways, which is often, workouts could be that self-care. So often if we get too spiritually hungry, then we end up just turning to food, because food is our friend, food is easy, food is always there, and it's the quick thing. So even if what I need might be a nap for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, my old habit used to just be to eat when I was tired. And now that I've broken through that, I've been able to release a lot of weight because now I prioritize self-care. So that is more of the emotional, spiritual hunger. So I just want to share back and forth some indicators, and you can think about this and just message me if you want me to send this to you. So I'm going to go back and forth. A real physical hunger will build slowly, whereas an emotional hunger, hey Mary Lou, an emotional hunger will come on very quickly, and it's kind of like, I need something and I need it now. So usually if you're just kind of getting physically hungry, you could tell yourself, I'm just gonna have some water, I'm just gonna wait, or I'm gonna do 20 more minutes of what I'm doing and then I'm gonna go eat. So if it's a physical hunger, usually you're able to kind of say, okay, no worries, I'll eat in 10 minutes. And it's not like this obsession, okay? Unless we let it go too far, and that's a video for another day, because poor food choices do happen when we get too hungry. So the next one is a real physical hunger where your body needs fuel to function will crave a variety of foods. So it'll crave a balanced meal or snack. Whereas a more emotional or spiritual hunger will crave a very specific thing. And when I say specific, usually, almost always, it's a very high carb snack. So if you're only wanting carbs, often that's because you're experiencing more of an emotional hunger, or you've let yourself get way too hungry, physically hungry. So there's both. So maybe you can relate to that. When I'm emotionally hungry, I want cheesecake, I want muffins, I want cake, I want cookies. I do not want broccoli and chicken and, yams or something. I want the carbs. Is anybody relating to that? So, and even if I'm just really tired, I want the carbs. I don't want the yams and the carrots and well, actually some people don't think those are healthy. So I don't want the broccoli and chicken. I want the carbs. All right, so the next one is real physical hunger can stop when the stomach is full, whereas an emotional hunger is never satisfied by food alone. And so, Deepak Chopra, some of you have probably heard of Deepak Chopra. He says a spiritual hunger can never be satisfied on a physical level. So if you're spiritually hungry for fun, for pleasure, for rest, for love, for a hug, and all you do is give yourself food, it's like a bottomless pit. There's never going to be enough. So if you can relate to that, it's time to start giving yourself what you need, which takes practice. All right, 2 more. So real physical hunger brings on good feelings and increased energy after eating. And emotional hunger brings on kind of yucky feelings like shame, like self-beat up, and you often feel kind of lethargic and heavy after you've eaten emotionally. So can anyone relate to that? If you eat because you're really hungry and you picked some balanced choices, you actually feel good after you eat. And if you eat because you're angry, sad, lonely, tired, and you kind of binge, then you often feel lethargic and gross after you eat. And often you're kind of regretting what you did. Yeah, sad face emoticon. So that's a really good tool, is knowing the difference between real physical hunger and emotional hunger, and that's awareness. And once you're aware, you have a choice. If you're not aware, I'd say 95% of the population's just unaware, and they're just mindlessly eating and going to the pantry, and they just think that they're food lunatics and they have no willpower. However, now that you've watched this video, you're aware, which is amazing. So the next tool I want to share is just becoming aware of your triggers. So I want to share the top triggers that I hear from my clients when I do workshops, when I work one-on-one. These are the top reasons why people say they turn to food even though they're not hungry physically. Dissatisfaction with their lives is one. being overwhelmed and just wanting to not deal with what they have to deal with, so they eat, overwhelm. And give me a like if you relate to any of these. Frustration. A lot of clients that I have say, when I'm frustrated, I eat because I just don't like that feeling. Loneliness, that's a huge one. A lot of people, when they're alone and they're lonely, they eat. Being stressed, this is a huge one. You know, that's similar to overwhelm in a lot of ways. Feeling a lot of stress and pressure. Sometimes food just releases that and feels so good, right? And I want to also say quickly, comfort eating is not necessarily bad. We all do it. Even people at their best bodies do it. However, it becomes a problem if we're wearing extra weight on our body and we're frustrated. And it becomes a problem if we're using food to stuff down our emotions. Because if we stuff them down long enough, we're going to have excess weight and we're going to get sick. And I used to get sick a couple times a month because I was always stuffing down my emotions. So back to the list. Anxiety is another big trigger for a lot of people that eat emotionally. Being sad. Feeling unworthy is listed a lot. Feeling unfulfilled, feeling bored. Any boredom eaters? Give me a like or a love if you've ever just eaten because you're just like bored and just feel like doing something more interesting than what you're doing. Yeah, that used to be a huge one for me, boredom eating. And then, you know, anger. I've heard a lot of people say when I'm angry, when I'm mad at somebody, I eat. Because it just feels good. So yeah, those are some of the reasons. So the reason I share that with you is because a lot of people have some stigma around emotional eating and they feel like it's something to be ashamed of. And I want to share with you, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, I used to stand at the fridge and I would just pray that my husband would not walk down the stairs and catch me snacking on something, because I was very ashamed of the habit that I had of emotional eating. And now I'm not ashamed. I sometimes still do it if things get really hard. However, I've come a long way, and I just believe, similar to how I believe it's really important for us to talk about depression and mental health issues, miscarriages, anything that's really emotional that we've kept down, I think it's important to share. So, you know, I'm open book because I want to help other people be an open book and not feel the shame that's attached to a lot of these things. So that's why I want to share that. All right, so now those are some awareness tools. I just want to bring awareness to the challenge, and that's huge. Once you're aware, you have a choice to make a different, to take a different path. If you're not aware, you can't change your habits. So that's awesome. So the second step is having some coping strategies in the moment, okay? So coping strategies. One of my favorite ones, and I just want you to put yourself in this situation. You know, whatever it is for you, you can change it in your mind, but you get home from, let's say you get home from work or a really intense day of shopping or something, and you just get home and you go straight to the pantry and you look in the pantry and you're just like, carbs. Give me some, whatever. Maybe you can leave a comment. What's your thing? What's your thing that you eat? When you're feeling those feels. Is it broccoli and chicken, or is it like crackers, chips, cookies, cake? Like, what's your thing? My thing was cheesecake for a lot of years. That was my coping mechanism. So in the moment, here's a few tips. Delay. Delay is huge. So if you can get to the point where you're able to stop what you're doing and take 3 deep breaths, just 3. And let's do it right now as you're watching this. Hi, Jared. Hi, Stacy. So take 3 deep breaths. I want you to fill your whole belly. So deep breath in, through the nose, out through the mouth. 3 breaths. What that does is it creates a little opening in your brain to make a different choice. Okay, so take those deep breaths in. We're breaking the habit of being on autopilot by taking these breaths. 1 more deep breath in. So then you have this spaciousness, and then you can make a choice. Instead of just running your life on autopilot, you actually have an opening to make a choice. You might still choose to eat the thing, but at least you've opened up a little spaciousness. Often what I tell myself is, Charmaine, and you can put yourself in my shoes, say to yourself, if you want this thing in 5 minutes, you can come back and have it. And the reason this is powerful is because often when you delay it, you end up forgetting about it and you get busy with something else. And deprivation and telling yourself you can't have it, like Lori said, cheese. If you say, I'm not allowed to have cheese, what our brains actually do is think about the thing that we're not allowing ourselves to have. And so for me, just saying to myself lovingly, okay, Charmaine, if you really want the cheesecake in 5 minutes, you can come back for it. Majority of the time, I don't even come back for it. So that's a delay strategy. Another thing is to just think to yourself, and think to yourself right now, I use this all the time. Nothing tastes as good as being healthy and vibrant and fit feels. And you've probably seen that quote that says, nothing tastes as good as being thin feels. My goal will never be to be thin again. I've tried to be thin my whole life until I was 29, and then I got rid of that goal, and now my life is so much happier now that my goal is to be healthy and fit and vibrant instead of thin. But whatever it is for you, whatever you desire, nothing tastes as good as that feels. And that might not be true every time. You might be like, screw it, cheesecake tastes way better than being thin feels or whatever. But yeah, that's worked so well for me because my goals for my body and my why, my motivation is so deep. And so, sometimes after a long day, I forget what my goals are. But if I rethink about it, I'm like, yeah, I'm worth it. I'm worth feeling good. I want to have my dream body. And so I'm not going to eat this thing because it doesn't align. So if you can just have a few delay strategies in the moment, that's going to be massive for you. So I'm going to have a little sip of water. Let me know if this has been helpful for you so far. Give me a like or a love just so I know. I also want to share my prop, my broccoli prop. One other thing that I really found helpful is asking a very simple question. And the question is, am I hungry enough to eat broccoli? And for me, broccoli is like a neutral food. It's not, I don't love it, I don't hate it, it's just fine. And so for me, if I'm unsure whether I'm eating emotionally or because I'm really hungry, I just say, would I be willing to eat like a cup of broccoli right now? So ask yourself that. Am I hungry enough to eat broccoli? And often that can be a pattern interrupt because it's like, heck no, I don't want broccoli. I want cheesecake. And then for me, that's when I know, okay, this is probably not a physical hunger. So that's been a really helpful tool for a lot of my clients is the broccoli test. Another way of saying it is just, am I physically hungry or not? But I like the broccoli test because it kind of has a visual to it. So you can try those. So those are a couple of my coping strategies I wanted to share. And I'm sharing some of my favorite stuff with you today. However, this is like the tip of the iceberg, and then the iceberg is like this massive thing underwater, and I have so much to share. And I do have a retreat coming up where I share into this a lot deeper. I do have a 5-week program starting in the new year where I share all of this. So if you're like, wow, this has been so helpful, and you want to go deeper, I'm going to share how you can do that as well. All right, so the third step, which I'm excited about, and maybe if you're able to and you have, actually that will come in a minute. The chocolate will come in a minute. So the third step is to design your life for success. And I'll share a quick story. About 6-7 years ago, I was working as a personal trainer one-on-one, and sometimes my husband's watching and he can attest to this. Some days I would work 16 hours a day, and I would train like 13 or 14 clients in a row. And it was hilarious because I was very motivational, however, with my words and my energy. However, I was not walking the walk. Or walking the talk. I was very overweight. And sometimes I'd leave the gym and I would stop for fast food on the way home. And I would often stop at this bakery near my house where they had a feature cake of the week. And I would buy this huge slice of cake. And what I would do is I would just eat. My husband maybe would even make me dinner. And I would like eat this huge amount. I'd always go back for seconds. And then I'd go up to bed and I would eat this cake. And so the reason I share that story is that my lifestyle was literally making it impossible for me to live at a healthy weight because I was just in survival mode. So after work, the only thing my body wanted was to eat, and I didn't have any control over it. And I'm not saying I was helpless. Because I was in such amount of stress and so exhausted, my body was always in fight or flight mode. And so that's how I would live my life. And if you can relate to that, like you're just so tired and so stressed that it's like, you feel like you can't make a better choice. Have you ever felt like that? Give me a like or a love if you've ever felt, yeah, I'm trying, but I can't make a better choice because I'm just too overwhelmed. And so I got stuck in this pattern for a long time. And I was humiliated. You know, I was a fitness trainer and I was overweight and I just couldn't get my crap figured out. And so, yeah, my husband's giving me likes because he knows. I would go to this bakery called Forage and I would get a piece of cake almost every night after work. It was like a really gnarly habit. And I would not only eat it in bed, I would eat it in bed mindlessly while I watched TV. So I didn't even get to enjoy it. And in the next step, I'm going to share how to savor your food. So back to the point, the third step is to make sure your lifestyle aligns with what you desire. And working 16 hours a day does not allow you to live at a healthy weight for a lot of us. And, you know, getting not enough sleep and having a really stressful lifestyle really affects your weight. And stress, so you've probably heard about cortisol. That's like your main stress hormone. So when you're stressed, you're literally in fight or flight mode. You're going to fight the saber-tooth monster, whatever they're called. What are they called? Saber-tooth something. Or you're going to flee from it. And so your heart is racing and your body's coursing with cortisol. And what happens is your brain goes, oh my God, we have to keep fighting this monster. I don't know what it is. Saber-tooth something. Tiger. Saber-tooth tiger. So our brain just goes, oh my gosh, we have to make sure that we live. And so it starts to say, how am I going to keep going? And so it starts to say, we need energy, we need quick energy. And if you're watching this, what's the quickest form of food energy you could eat? You know, is it broccoli? Is it like a piece of salmon? Or is it sugar? So sugar is absolutely the quickest form of energy. That's why people running marathons take little satchels of like liquid sugar basically to keep themselves going. Okay, so unless you're running a marathon, please don't do that. And that's how a lot of us are living our lives because we're so stressed. So I want you to know that if you crave sugar uncontrollably, like I did for many years, it's likely because of the level of stress you live under. And so my favorite thing to recommend for people, and I need to take my own advice, is to breathe. Try it with me. Just take 3 deep breaths. Filling your belly, your chest, and then sigh it out. Deep breath in through the nose, filling up your belly. This is a weight loss technique, a weight release technique, and a health technique. Slow, long exhale. If you can make the exhale longer than the inhale, that's even better. And one more deep breath in. So, just noticing how that affects your body. And deep breathing is actually proven, researched across the board to take you out of that fight or flight mode into that rest, digest, relaxation mode. Even if it's only for a minute, it's still a huge gift you give your body. So that's one thing I want to share about stress. Another thing about stress is that when your cortisol is high, your body actually holds fat a lot more easily. So I shared earlier in the video, if you weren't watching, you could eat a hamburger or a sandwich or a piece of chocolate in a relaxed state, or you could eat it in a really stressed state, driving, late for an appointment, and you can hold up to 3 times as much fat from the exact same food, the same amount, the same food when you're eating under stress versus when you're eating, breathing, enjoying, savoring, relaxed, okay? And this has been proven. So that's a huge, huge motivator to get your stress down, especially before you eat. However, all the time is awesome too. So I could go on, we could have a whole nother video. I could do a whole day workshop on stress reduction. However, deep breathing is a game-changing tip for you. All it takes is those 3 deep breaths, and that can make a world of difference. And sleep is the other lifestyle factor. So how many of you watching have ever been like super exhausted in sleep deprivation mode, sleep debt mode, and you just want to eat? Like you just notice like, yeah, and maybe you haven't thought about this before, but think about it. Have you ever been really tired and then just noticed that you were like really voraciously hungry? and you just like seem to have like less control around food, and all you could think about was eating, and you're actually physically hungry all the time. Yeah, so that's another very similar process to being stressed, is when you're not getting enough sleep. What your body does is it signals to your brain that you're not getting enough energy, you're not getting enough restoration from your sleep, and so you're actually going to take it from food. And it's not probably going to be the broccoli healthy meal, it's probably going to be the carbs. So sleep is a huge one. I love sharing about sleep hygiene. My husband and I are really passionate about making sure like there's very little light in our room. Our phones are in airplane mode, so we're not getting all those EMFs into our body while we sleep. If you can have blackout blinds, that's huge. Not using your device right before bed. And if you are using your device, make sure that you have an app that makes the color of your screen less blue, because blue light actually prevents your sleep hormone from rising and prevents you from getting a deep sleep, and it makes it harder to get to sleep. So there's some apps, you can look them up just to make more of an orange light, and you can synchronize them with when you want to go to bed. If you need to use your laptop or your phone before bed, then those are a great option. So do you see from watching this how much more there is to it than just what you're eating? Like, it's such a lie to think I just have to get my eating under control and then it'll all fall into place. And it's actually really stressful. And I hope what I'm sharing with you isn't overwhelming, because these are just small tools and practices that if you start to implement one or two of these, you're going to see a huge shift in your life. And it's not going to be this quick fix thing that you're going to lose the weight, gain the weight. It's going to be your whole lifestyle is shifting and you're getting healthier and healthier all the time. So that's my third step. We only got 2 to go. Who's excited? So my next step, this is where the chocolate comes in. And I was just at the Light Cellar last night, so I'm really excited. A lot of you know, like, I eat what I want when I want, and I always have healthy treats in the fridge and freezer because I believe in savoring and enjoying life, and I'm a foodie. Food is my number one passion in life, and so I'm not going to ever deprive myself. However, what I do is, because I love chocolate, I buy really good, high quality chocolate. So this is called salted maple nib flavor. It's from a place here in Calgary called the Light Cellar. It's organic, it's raw, it's stone ground. It's amazing. So I really just want to share my peaceful eating practice, my favorite one at the moment. I've got about 21, and I actually have a whole program on this. It's savoring your food. Okay, so if you want to run and grab something to practice on, go for it. I'm just going to quickly show you. And so I'm not going to lie and say I do this every time I eat. However, there are some certain things that I do every time I eat. One is to say what I'm grateful for about the food. But if you really want to put it into practice, like, take what you're about to eat. Maybe you look at it, think about where it came from, feel a bit of gratitude, take those 3 deep breaths. Maybe you smell it. I often do mindful eating meditations with my clients, and I'll have them eat some chocolate mindfully. And some people will say to me, I've never tasted chocolate. Like, I didn't know how big one little piece could taste. And they were people that would scarf down a whole Snickers bar and hardly enjoy it, versus now they can eat a small piece of chocolate and be satisfied. So that's the power. And another big thing is to chew. Chew many times and savor the flavor. Also, if you breathe, the flavors get more intense, more amazing, more satisfying. Sometimes I even close my eyes. And there was a neat study on a man, and he lost 150 pounds in a year just by chewing his food more. He went from chewing like once or twice and scarfing food to chewing each bite 30 times. And he changed nothing about what he was eating, nothing. He just changed how many times he chewed his food. And so I'm not telling you to go chew 30 times because that's too much, I think. And I don't believe in having a rigid rule because it takes the joy out of it. I'm not a rule follower. Everything I'm teaching you today, I hope you can take it as like, wow, that feels like an inspired action, not like, oh, Charmaine said I should do this. Because whenever you tell yourself you should do something, it drains the energy from your body and you're way less likely to do it. However, if you say, I'm going to choose to do this because I deserve to feel good and enjoy my food and release weight, then you're gonna be way more motivated to do it. So that's the fourth step. And that's just like one of the 21 tips that I have on that, but just savor your food. It makes such a big difference. One of the benefits of eating in a more slow savoring way, hey Preet, one of the benefits is that you digest your food way better. You hold less fat because you're relaxed, like I shared earlier, and you get satisfied quicker with less food. You don't have to portion control. You don't have to do some diet or anything. It's just you'll end up naturally and with ease and grace eating less, which is awesome. And my last step for releasing weight, for breaking through comfort eating, is to optimize your mindset. And a lot of us, and ask yourself, do you have any mindsets about food that are not serving you? Now, one of the biggest ones I talk about is the all or none, the all or nothing mindset when it comes to food. And what that looks like is, for example, you're at work, you're on a good roll with your clean eating, and then there's like a thing of Tim Hortons donuts or whatever type of donuts, and you grab one, even though you don't feel like you really should, and then you eat it, and then you say, oh, what the heck, I ate one, I might as well just keep going. Has anybody ever done that? Or you're like, I'm gonna swear myself off wine, and then you have one glass, and then you go, oh, I ruined my plan, so I might as well just have the whole bottle. Anybody ever had sort of that perfectionistic all or nothing thinking when it came to food? Just give me a like or a love so I know if you've experienced that. And so that's a mindset that's very common. And there's some cool studies on this. There's lots of studies out there. One of my favorites is a milkshake one. And they actually went with a group, and they offered them milkshakes. And they offered one group, or they offered them large. They said you can have an extra large milkshake, chocolate milkshake, or you can have extra small. So some of the people just went for the extra large, some of the people went for the extra small. However long they took, they drank their milkshake, and then they went back around to the same groups of people with a second choice, an ice cream cone. And you might be able to guess where this is going. Who do you think took the ice cream cone? The people more often, the people who had the extra small milkshake that maybe savored it, or the people that had the extra large milkshake? What would you guess? You could just write in the comments. What do you think? Would it be the extra small milkshake? Then they'd still want more than they'd have the ice cream, or would it be the people that had the extra large milkshake? Yeah, Andrea says XL. And that was the fascinating thing. Maybe it seems kind of counterintuitive. However, when that oh what the heck effect or oh what the hell effect or that all or nothing thinking comes in and you say, well, I already screwed up. I had the extra large. I might as well just keep going. That's when you run into this issue, because there's a huge difference between an extra large milkshake versus an extra large milkshake and an ice cream cone. Just like there's a huge difference between one glass of wine and a bottle of wine. Just like there's a huge difference between savoring, one beautiful piece of chocolate or just eating the whole thing. And that's where that guilt and making yourself feel wrong for what you did also is very unhelpful. And that's my second mindset tool I want to share today, so that this video isn't like 3 hours long, is forgiving yourself, having some self-compassion when you make a food choice that does not serve you, that maybe you consider bad or off the plan. So, how many times have you eaten something, maybe you had a really hard day at work, or you're stressed and you're exhausted, or you're feeling an emotional time, and then you eat something that doesn't serve you. And you beat yourself up about it, and you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, I screwed up on my plan, etc., etc. Has anybody ever done that? I know I definitely have. And I used to be like the self-beat up queen. I was just so mean to myself. And what's interesting about this is that, and I'll share another quick study, which I love, and they had a group of people split in half. They were all put on a meal plan, let's say 1,500 calories a day. And half the group was told, if you eat something off the plan, you're gonna beat yourself up about it. You're gonna get mad at yourself. You're gonna just say harsh things to yourself. And then the other group was told, when you eat something off the plan, what I want you to do is forgive yourself, give yourself some love and compassion, and then figure out how can you make a better choice the next time. And also figure out what triggered the decision. And so get curious, okay? So guess which group, and I know some of you have heard me share this, but guess which group was more successful in weight loss? The group that beat themselves up as soon as they went off the plan by a little bit, or the group that gave themselves compassion, they got curious about why this was happening, they made a plan for a better tomorrow. Guess which group was more successful? Somebody's got to guess. Just put your comment in the comment box. So it was the group that forgave themselves and had self-compassion that was 80% more successful in releasing weight and keeping it off. So self-compassion wins. And I just want to share that, like, self-compassion beats self-beat up every time. However, it's an old, hey Catherine, it's a very old mindset to think, I got to beat myself up, I got to work harder, right? So yeah, being more grace-filled with yourself, being more loving with yourself. You know, think about a little kid and they screwed up, or they made a choice that wasn't great. What would you do with them? Would you just yell at them? Or would you, like help them make a better choice the next time? I know some of us might yell, but what's more productive if you think about it is actually educating and getting curious. Why did that happen? And that kind of thing. So those are my 5 steps for breaking through comfort eating. And the benefits are huge. Weight release that's actually sustainable is one of the best ones. Having more zest for life and having peace and confidence around food and not having to follow a meal plan or a diet or anything like that, having this confidence. So I want to just review the 5 steps for breaking through comfort eating. Number 1 is awareness. Being able to know in the moment, am I physically hungry? Am I in need of food? Or do I need something else? And if it's something else, practice getting better at giving yourself what you really need. Remembering that a spiritual hunger can never be satisfied on a physical level. The second step for breaking through comfort eating, this is a huge one, is having some coping strategies in the moment. Taking some deep breaths, delaying before you just autopilot snack on things. You have some delay strategies. Maybe you ask yourself, how is this going to make me feel? Is this aligning with my goals? The third step is to make your lifestyle conducive to your goals. And if you're so stressed and you're so tired and you're just having no time for yourself, it's going to be a challenge to release weight. And so making that a priority, how can you make small shifts so that your life becomes more manageable? You can get more sleep, you can have more self-care. The fourth step, I brought out my chocolate, and it's all about peacefully eating your food, how you're actually eating, so that you open up more spaciousness for awareness and weight release and healthy digestion. Hey Lynette, hey Kim. And then the fifth step is optimizing your mindset, releasing those old belief systems like the all or nothing thinking, it's black or white, it's good or bad, and having more self-compassion, more grace for yourself when you do slip up, because you will slip up. And that's important to remember. It's not if you slip up, it's when. And so it's important to just be so kind with yourself. Kindness beats out self-beat up any day. So those are the 5 steps. It was like a eagle-eye view over them, and I hope this was really helpful for you. I would love to hear any questions you have. I'll circle back to the video a few times after this and check in. If there's any questions, you're welcome to private message me. And if this really resonated with you and you're just like, dang, like whatever she's teaching, I need to hear more, then that's awesome. And I'm excited to share that I have a program. It's ran in 2 ways. I have one that's a live one-day event where I go way deeper into these topics. We just spent an hour, and you can probably tell I have a lot more to say and a lot more to teach. So I have a live retreat on November 24th. It's $149, and I have 4 tickets left for that. It's a very small, intimate group, and so it's going to be very powerful. And I also have a 5-week program that's launching in January, and it's called Weight Loss and Food Freedom, and I'm going to teach these 5 pillars, these 5 steps in depth, and help you make them a practice in your life. So it's not just knowledge, it's not just more to do, it actually becomes integrated and embodied so that it becomes natural action. How many of you would love everything I just taught today becoming natural action? And so you don't even have to think about it. How does that sound? Pretty awesome. And that's where life gets so easy and so peaceful. and things just all fall together. And so if you're interested in the live retreat or the program, just send me a private message or leave a comment in the comment section. I would love, love, love to hear from you. And if you're in Calgary, I am going to be sharing at the Self-Care Festival. It is at Mount Royal College on Saturday, and we still have some tickets left for that. It's only $20. So I'll also put a link for that below in the comment section because it's going to be a really amazing event. And if you have trouble putting yourself first and taking care of yourself, then this festival is going to be amazing for you. So I'll put the details for that below. And I love, 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 love sharing this stuff. If you found this inspirational, please share it to your personal page. Spread the word about this more loving approach to your journey with weight release, because there's no need to diet anymore. That's the old paradigm. This is the new paradigm, and it is so much more empowering, so much more sustainable, so much more enjoyable. So thanks for watching. Love to you. Love you all. Have a most beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. I know I will. I'm actually decorating our Christmas tree tonight, so I'm super excited about that. Kind of a geek for Christmas. So hope you have something fun planned. Remember, you're worthy of self-care, and nobody's going to make it happen other than you. So take some action today. Love to hear any comments you have. Remember, let me know if you're interested in my retreat. I still have a few tickets. If you're interested in my January program, that's going to fill up really fast. And if you want to come to the Self-Care Festival, I'll post the link to buy a ticket to that below. Have a great day.